to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Kinnelon Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the Suburban Trends on January 16, 2022. Posted in the Kinnelon Public Library and filed with the Borough Clerk and posted on the district website. I should be walking in. Oh, there she is.
It's okay.
Ms. Keene, would you call the board?
Ms. Thomas? Here. Mrs. Fishback? Here. Mrs. Perrella? Here. Mr. Petroselli?
Here.
And Ms. Donaldson?
Here. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Keene, do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
And report of the superintendent. Mr. Giuseppe?
Good evening. So we have
So the academic decathlon regional competition took place on January 29th, and our team, which always does really well, did well again this year. We placed third. The MVP was Ty Lydia. Jackson Basson placed third in the overall category in the varsity division. Members of our regular team are Sullivan Denblecker, Blake Kessler, Juan Perez, Ty Lydia, Dimon Phillips, Shea Parada, Jackson Basson, Matthew Hassler, and Michael Vasquez. Members of the alternative team are Talina Abdullah, James Carreri, Cole Pryor, Jake Pryor, Jackson Wood, Berza Costco, and Max Schmaltz. Mrs. Johnson has been the coach of this team forever, and will be forever, I'm sure. They go to the state finals on the 26th, and the individual awards are equally as impressive. So you can see this, 3 bronze, 1 silver for Jackson, a bronze for James, silver and honorable mentions for Sullivan, Matthew, 1 silver, 2 bronze, and 2 honorable mentions. Blake gets a silver and a bronze. Gold, a bronze, and an honorable mention for Ty. Devin has an honorable mention. Shea, 1 silver, 1 bronze. Cole, a silver. Max, 2 honorable mentions. And Michael got a silver and an honorable mention. It's just a great group of kids that do a great job every year. Okay, some just changes to security drill legislation and to the HIB policy. These do not take effect immediately, but they are coming, and they're good changes. So just to let everybody know, when we do a security drill now, we're required, and we've always done it this way, so I want to point that out, making them age appropriate. So our security drills look very different at Kiel than they look at the high school. But apparently that wasn't the case across the state because they felt the need to make these changes. So it requires us to notify parents by the end of the school day that a security drill was conducted. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. That we tell the students and staff that this was a drill, that no danger exists, which we currently do. The drill does not expose students to content or imaging that's not developmentally or age appropriate. They are aligned with trauma-informed approaches that address any student inquiries or concerns that may arise out of, this is all about trauma-informed practices, especially with the mental health issues that we're seeing pop up. So this one I couldn't believe, so I have to imagine school districts were using fake blood. You can't hold it up. real or prop firearms, simulation of gunshots, explosions, or other sounds. We have never done that, and we will never do that. We don't ask students to play the role as victims either, so I just want to point out this is a change to the state regs. This is something we have never done anyway and would not do. So it's accessible to students with disabilities, mental health conditions, and provides the necessary accommodations for these students. And it requires us to review and update our drill procedures at the same time every year as we update our safety and security plan. The anti-bullying legislation, these are more changes that occur at the state level, so they're enhancing penalties for cyber harassment, creating a funded position for school climate and a state coordinator at the Department of Education to provide HIV information and resources. This requiring me to provide annually to the board, which I already do, actually we're doing it on the 24th, the number of times a preliminary determination is made and that an incident or complaint is outside the scope of definition of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. You get that report from me, you have one tonight. That we have to specify the consequences for a student who commits an act of harassment. I already do that as well. Requiring that the principal shall keep a written record of the date, time, and manner of notification to the parents or guardians. This is not something that we currently officially do, although we have a file that has all the parent letters that have ever gone out. We do need to start keeping a database. Requiring written reports to the principal on the number developed by the, a number form. This is something that's coming from the Department of Education, so this is going to be available to parents on an online number form to report incidences of HIV. So this is something that's going to come from the Department of Ed. We have no control over that when that happens. And requiring the school district provide a means for a parent or guardian to complete an online that number form for confidential report and incidents of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. And you know, it's not in my PowerPoint, but I will talk about it tonight. We did have some unfortunate cyber activity at Pearl Miller. I think I sent an email out to the board last week, but it's continuing. The prosecutor has gotten involved. There was some accounts on TikTok that were made that had some pretty disturbing, vulgar, vile stuff on it. And some had to do with other students, and some had to do with students from other districts, and some had to do with our staff. And it was very upsetting, and the prosecutor did pick it up and is doing, just asked TikTok for a subpoena for the IP addresses for the 2 accounts that were pretty gross. And gross is probably not the best word, but I don't know how else to gross. So the Cal report, good news. Cal report came out today. The statewide is in moderate. We are just that bottom part of the state, still in high. We expect to get into green rather quickly with the decline of the Omicron variant surge. New close contact, as of March 7th, also good news for everyone that's here probably. We have a good number of people here today. As of March 7th, the school mask mandates becomes optional in the state of New Jersey. So we will be working with our students and our staff to make sure that we don't have, that there's no bullying around people that choose to, because we did have a little bit of that last spring when we made masks optional. We did have some kids that were bullied a little bit when they continued to wear their masks, so we had to do some education moving up to that. And we're waiting on guidance from the Department of Health on close contact and contact tracing. From what our health officer told me today, this is his exact words, serious consideration is being given to curtailing contact tracing in the state of New Jersey. So that's my report.
Thanks, Diane. Okay, petitions and hearings of citizens for agenda items. Does anybody have any comments? This will be for agenda items only. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Action items. Mr. Petroselli, Personnel Committee.
The Personnel Committee has agenda items number 1 and 2 that represent our recommendations. They'll be voted upon as a group. Number 1 is educational leadership program for the people you see listed there, and then number 2 is a substitute teacher. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Okay, seeing no questions, Ms. King, will you pull the board?
Mr. Petroselli?
Yes?
Mrs. Perrella?
Yes.
Mrs. Fishback?
Yes.
Ms. Jonas? And Mrs. Donaldson?
Yes.
Personnel Committee also has agenda items 3 and 4, which were added to the agenda. It's an unpaid leave of absence and approval of a full-time custodian at KHS.
Motion to approve, or for discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions on that one? For those two?
Okay. Seeing no questions, Ms. King, will you pull the board?
Mrs. Perrella?
Yes.
Mrs. Fishback?
Yes.
Ms. Jonas? Mr. Petroselli?
Yes.
And Mrs. Donaldson?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we also have the policy committee, which is also Mr. Petroselli.
There's just one item there is the accepting the HIV report, which Diane sent out. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions? Probably more to Diane than to me, but
Okay, seeing no questions, Ms. King, will you pull the board?
Ms. Jonas? Mrs. Fishback?
Yes.
Mrs. Perrella?
Yes.
Mr. Petroselli?
yes.
And Ms. Donaldson?
Yes. Okay, we did also have a preview of the next meeting's agenda. Diane, do you have any comments you want to share about it? Any comments on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, but there's some things that aren't quite on here yet. Things are coming in today, and we'll get them on and get them out to you as soon as possible. So, really boilerplate, approval of the minutes. Under Education Committee, we will be approving it's a boilerplate approval of our English language learner plan, 3-year plan. It's our state requirement. I can have a copy of that for the Education Committee. It is, it doesn't change much. We have 3 students that receive English language services out of 1,700, so it is a very small group of kids. Nothing for negotiations. Personnel, there will be some personnel items added. One of our Stony Brook teachers is going on leave to the end of the school year, and so her resignation, her medical leave of absence, and a replacement teacher. We luckily have someone who is a long-term sub for us that's still speaking a paraprofessional, and she's been kindergarten for 3 years. So we're very lucky that she's with us. It makes us have to find another paraprofessional. So these 6-period classes that you see for the English department are just to get us over the hump until Mr. Porter can start. And then Mrs. Haggerty is asking me for an extension of her leave of absence through June 30th. She is a paraprofessional. For those that are new or don't know this yet, we provide a stipend of $750 for every paraprofessional that also carries a substitute stipend. It's incentive for them to get sub-certified. The policy committee, we're meeting, so we'll talk about these. The policy, but they're on. These are the table policies from last week. This would be second reading and adoption of that. I sent out to the board that there was an error in the date of the NJEA convention on the calendar that was on the agenda on the 31st. We really don't have to reapprove it because it's not a change in the number of school days, it's just a change in a flip-flop of a week, but we can reapprove it just so it's out there. I sent it out to the community. And the 2023-2024 school calendar should be also available. I'm just waiting for the KEA and the KAA to give me the thumbs up on it. And then we have our finance committee boilerplate items, all the reports, funds, checklists, bill lists, disbursements. And number 7 is a refusal of funds for the ARP, ESSER, homeless student funds that we were allotted $635. So we can't take it if it's under $5,000. So we either have to find schools to become a consortia with, and then it's a long, drawn-out process to do whatever, extend the money with a bunch of schools. So most of the schools that got under $5,000 are just refusing it, and $635 is just a silly pittance amount. But why bother? The state. And that's all I have. It's a short agenda for next week so far. I think about it grows.
All right, we'll move on to committee reports. Mr. Petroselli, Personnel.
Personnel has not met since the last meeting, but we're going to try to get a date together. So I'll email you and try to figure out a date, unless we want to try to nail it down now. We'll try to nail down a date for next week, or?
Next week we're fall.
Yeah, next week,
Yeah, we're
so I guess 2 weeks. So that would be the week of 22nd. Is there any bad days there?
I have another meeting on Wednesday, and we have the Board of Ed meeting Thursday. We do Monday or Tuesday.
I'm not around Monday or Tuesday, but I can do before the board meeting on Thursday.
Does that work?